Hi, I am Mukul and welcome to Chess Sincere Videos. Today I will be showing you weaknesses in the pawn structure. The position that we have is called as a backward pawn. Black is having a backward pawn on d6. And why is this a backward pawn? Because this pawn cannot be pushed. To push this pawn, you need a piece to support it. Also, a hole is being created on the d5 square where white can easily place one of its pieces. That is why this is a backward pawn and hence it is a weakness. This is another weakness in the pawn structure and it is called as double pawn. Why is this a weakness? White is having double pawns on C file and on the G file. So only one pawn can move at a time. So if you push C4 to C5, then after that move you can push C3 to C4, and the pawn which is behind this pawn can be easily attacked. But let me tell you one thing, double pawns can be advantageous when the double pawn on the G file is opening up the H file for the white rook, and if black has castled king's side, then white can use this H file to attack the castled king. So it's up to you how you wish to use the files. If you can place your rooks on the B file and the H file, then you are in control of the open files, and then these double pawns are no longer weaknesses. This type is called as the isolated pawn. The pawn on d4 is an isolated pawn. And why is it an isolated pawn? Because there is no pawn on the C file or on the E file, which means there are no pawns on the adjacent files to defend this particular pawn. Hence, this is called as an isolated pawn. Now, since this pawn is on the D file, which is the queen's file, this can also be called as an isolated queen's pawn. If this would have been on the E file with obviously no pawns on the D file and the F file, then it would have been called as the isolated king's pawn. So we have covered another pawn weaknesses in the pawn structure, which is the isolated pawn. Let's have a look at another weakness in the pawn structure. This is called as the hanging pawns. What are hanging pawns? Hanging pawns is a duo or a pair of pawns, usually on the C and D files. I'm saying it is usually on the C and D file. And now why are these pawns are called as hanging pawns? Because they are not defended by the pawns on the B file or on the E file. So these two pawns are on their own. They have to march forward, giving support to one another. And why is this a weakness? Because it is creating three pawn islands, 1, 2 and 3. Secondly, white again has to use one of its pieces like a rook, a bishop, to give support to these two pawns, and these are very vulnerable and could be easily captured. So this is another weakness, the hanging pawns. I hope you enjoyed or you learned a lot from this pawn structure weaknesses. I wish you good luck with your chess.